香港迪士尼樂園18週年。節目開始前請注意，請勿飲食或者用閃燈拍攝或錄影。同時請依家關掉你嘅手提電話。創夢家分享會再過幾分鐘就開始啦。
Dream makers, please take your seats at this time because in just a few minutes, we will be embracing the power of dreams, imagination, hope, and endless possibilities as we celebrate 100 years of Disney and Hong Kong Disneyland's 18th anniversary. A few reminders before we begin the show. Eating and drinking are not permitted in the theater at any time. Additionally, flash photography and video recording with lights are not allowed during the show. Also, we kindly ask that you please turn off your mobile phones at this time. The Dream Makers Fireside Chat begins in just a few minutes. Thank you.
This year is the 100th anniversary of the Walt Disney Company, and it's also the 18th anniversary of Hong Kong Disneyland. This significant milestone for us celebrates the remarkable achievements through the power of Disney storytelling and Hong Kong Disneyland and our partnership with the Hong Kong community since the park's opening in 2005. 今次好特別嘅意義就係公司慶祝100週年嘅時候，喺香港迪士尼樂園度假區呢一度咧，可以有一個全新嘅銅像。我哋喺100週年回顧翻我哋創作嘅原點，就係旋轉木馬呢一個地方咯。咁我哋就好想將呢一個靈感來源嘅 moment 咧，就去呈現翻。
The origin story has Walt taking his daughters over to the Griffith Park merry-go-round. So it seemed very natural for us to choose our carousel. But once we chose the carousel and we placed the bench there and we started to look around, we quickly realized that there's 2 points of view. There's one from the back of the bench looking towards the carousel. And there's also from the front of the bench looking back towards the castle.
The balance for us was really finding a pose for Mickey and Walt that would work perfectly from the front, but also from the back, as you're going to pass out of the castle and see the two of them sitting in front of the carousel.
Walt's arms kind of outreach both towards the carousel and the castle, as if he's to say to Mickey, look at all that we've accomplished in the past 100 years. But his right hand is gesturing towards the castle, as if he's telling Mickey, but look what we're going to do next.
So storytelling is part of everything we do, and that includes a statue. What time period is Walt in? What is he communicating? You know, the idea that this is Walt past Disneyland's opening, but before he gets into the Epcot work. This is a really interesting moment in the company. Interesting moment with Mickey, you know, the transformation of Mickey through time. That's all storytelling.
我哋今次團隊裏邊咧有2位嘅大師級人馬咧，啱啱完成埋呢個 project 咧就退休。第一位就係 Chris Turner， 我哋資深嘅插畫師，咁佢一路指導 Sandra 去畫佢嘅畫作啦。我今次真係好榮幸有機會同我哋美國嘅團隊有機會可以溝通同合作啦。咁我喺佢哋所有人身上都學咗好多嘢啦，譬如好似華德先生隻戒指嘅 design 啊、位置啊、塊面上面嘅皺紋啊，或者西裝嘅款式啊，甚至係有條呔，其實都有好多 storytelling 喺入邊。另一位就係 Scott， 咁今次佢亦都同2位 sculptors 啦 ，Patrick 同埋 Irma 咧，就一齊去塑造咗我哋嘅 Mickey 同埋 Walt， 睇到華特嘅容貌咧，一步步咧去雕塑出嚟啦，係非常之 charming。
The process for creating Walt, there's a lot of detail that needs to be established. We have to know what age is Walt. I particularly look for profile shots to give me an outline, a lot that goes into researching how he's going to look, including me actually putting on a coat jacket and posing in a mirror and taking pictures just to understand, you know, how the fabric really folds and wrinkles.
I like how animated Walt is in this statue. He's got a different energy, I think, than he has in any of the other park. He's just got this excitement. There's Mickey right next to him, always listening, always there at his side. It's just a really special piece.
It is fun to sculpt Mickey Mouse. He's always so happy, and his personality that you have to capture is pretty fun.
A lot of things that we do is what we call non-verbal storytelling. We found it important for us to tell the story to our guests so they would understand the meaning of the statue. We'll tell it through Walt's notebooks, his sketchbooks, the two pedestals with the dedication plaques on them. So the past 100 years is represented by Walt's notebook that's open. Because it's the past 100 years, everybody knows what's happened. And it's opened to a specific page in there towards the beginning of the story where he first thought up the idea of a theme park, Disneyland. Now the second book is a closed book and it's full of ideas, but because it represents the next 100 years, it's closed and it's secret. But we tore out one page and we put it on top and we wrote down one of Walt's quotes to say that it's basically been a dress rehearsal so far and wait till you see what comes next.
因為我哋要做好多唔同嘅 research， 好重視一啲細節嘅，咁所以就算喺華特迪士尼嘅簽名咧，我哋都會好講究佢唔同嘅年份，究竟係有啲咩唔同嘅簽名，咁而我哋揾一個係最適合嘅，咁同埋個牌匾上面嘅字形咧，我哋都揾咗一啲華特嗰陣時嘅親筆信啦，都對比嗰啲字形同埋佢手寫嘅內容咧，我哋希望可以揾到一個字形係符合翻佢嗰陣時手寫嘅風格，去令到成件事咧更加可以講到成個故事出嚟。
咁我哋嘅團隊啦，亦都喺設計銅像嘅時候啦，同埋我哋兩塊嘅牌匾，都考慮到不同能力嘅人士都可以睇得清楚牌匾上面嘅內容。
We talk so much about what we should call this, and Dreammakers was this perfect encapsulation. Walt and Mickey brought so many dreams to life, and yet there's a feeling that we all have that we get to carry on that legacy, that we get to be Dreammakers and keep going.
Dreammakers 嘅中文名係創夢家。創呢一個字咧非常之特別。創除咗係創作啦、創意，仲有創新。我哋好希望秉承住華特創新嘅精神，不斷求變，令到我哋唔係單單只係夢想，仲要係創夢。
身為一個迪士尼 fans 啦，我所有嘢我讀 design， 我入嚟做嘢都係非常迪士尼。到真係你而家可以落手做，參加到呢一個咁標誌性嘅一個 project 啦。而家回望翻轉頭啦，其實真係好有夢想成真嗰個感覺。
喺迪士尼嘅世界入邊咧，你畫嘅嘢有朝一日有可能會變成一個真實啦。可以將呢啲成咗真嘅夢想同唔同嘅客人分享啦，亦都係一個非常之 magical 嘅事。
You know, I think this project was really led out of Hong Kong, and I think those of us in Glendale who were part of it were excited to join and help them. We could bring an experience that we've had, but I think the real creative work was driven by the Hong Kong team, and I think they've just done an amazing job with that.
好感動啊！因為其實我哋 park 裏邊終於有一個地方係 tribute to Walt Disney 啦，有好多佢唔同嘅歷史嘅照片啦，同埋係好 informative。因為我第一份喺香港迪士尼樂園嘅工作咧，就係灰姑娘旋轉木馬嘅，咁所以新銅像擺喺嗰度咧，都見證住我自己嘅 beginning， 好感動啊！呢個位
睇到呢個銅像同佢影相嘅時候，令到我哋會更加明白我哋自己 castmate 埋一齊創夢嘅一種理念咯。咁所以我覺得係非常之感動嘅。
For this particular statue, we wanted guests to feel close to Walt. So for me, that was very touching, and I wanted to be able to create with our team a statue that we can sit next to Walt and feel that we are able to create our dreams and follow our dreams and make things happen just like he did.
大家好，歡迎參加創夢家分享會。現在請歡迎兩位主持人，香港迪士尼樂園度假區親善大使陳麗儀 Lily 以及唐俊迪 Tony。
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Dreammakers Fireside Chat. And now, please welcome your hosts, Hong Kong Disneyland Resort Ambassadors, Lily Chan and Tony Dick.
name is Tony.
And I'm Lily.
We're so honored to be your host today for the Dreammakers Fireside Chat as we all come together for the unveiling of the Walt and Mickey statue, Dreammakers, celebrating 100 years of Disney and Hong Kong Disneyland Resort's 18th anniversary. The video we just watched takes you through the behind the scenes of the making of the Dreammakers statue. So, how about a round of applause for all the hard work of everyone involved? I have to admit that we're all so excited to have all 900 of you joining us today, and I can see in the audience some young dreamers. We have in our midst NGO friends, school and university students, school principals, stakeholders, Project Mellow and Disney Imaginations participants, media, cast members, and leaders. I have to say that today you're all in for a treat. To kick off the ceremony, let's now introduce you to our three special guests. Please welcome to the stage Managing Director of Hong Kong Disneyland Resort, Michael Moriarty.
而家等我哋一齊歡迎今日3位嘅嘉賓，有請香港迪士尼樂園度假區行政總裁莫偉霆 Michael。
And please welcome to the stage Senior Vice President, Executive Global Management, Creative Development, Walt Disney Imagineering, Ali Rubenstein.
華特迪士尼掛上工程創意發展環球執行管理高級副總裁杜雅麗 Ali。
And last but not least, a dear friend of ours, please welcome from the archives, from the Walt Disney Archives Manager, Edward Overyale.
同埋華特迪士尼港務總經理 Edward。
Michael, Ali, Edward, thank you so much for joining us. Please be seated. So to start off, let's tell you a little bit about our speakers today. Michael, our managing director here at Hong Kong Disneyland Resort, truly grew up with Disney. His parents actually met at Walt Disney World in Florida. So to start off, we have a picture on the screen, and I want to challenge everyone to find Michael. Where do you think Michael is?
I'm in the stroller.
That's right, his parents are in red and they're pushing Michael in the park.
You've grown up. Yeah, I've grown up.
Michael first joined Hong Kong Disneyland as Chief Financial Officer about 17 years ago, just a year after the resort opened. So, who better to speak about the resort's incredible growth? Ali, on the other hand, has had more than 20 years experience with Walt Disney Imagineering and has played an integral role in the creative development of various Disney parks around the world, including here at Hong Kong Disneyland Resort. Now here's a fun fact about Ali. On the top side on the left, that is Ali's stepdad with Walt. They were friends. Ali's dad was friends with Walt. I'll let that sink in for a moment. Edward is the longest standing historian in Walt Disney Archives, having joined in 2006. He knows all things Walt. He served as the lead archivist on the team that faithfully recreated and restored Walt Disney's legendary office suite in Burbank, California, to its original location. Last year, Lily and I had the immense pleasure of being shown around the office by Edward. So I have to say, to prepare everyone, you're in for a treat. Ed is an incredible storyteller. It's a privilege to have all three of you here with us today, and for our audience to get to hear your insights about our founder, Walt Disney, as a person, entrepreneur, innovator, and storyteller. So, join us now as we dive right into a memory lane. Ed, we'll start with you. Let's get in and talk about Walt as a person. Going back to the very beginning, Walt's childhood. Walt's early life played a key role in shaping him into the person that he became. Can you share with us what it was like for Walt growing up?
Absolutely. Walt is a family man. He was a product of his rural upbringing. So he grew up on a farm in Marceline, Missouri. And many of those memories and things that he learned on the farm would help shape him into becoming the greatest showman of the world. His parents taught him the value of good, hard work. And Walt wasn't afraid to do, whatever job it was. He was famous for saying, I carried papers, I delivered things. He was not afraid of doing hard work. And his dad is the one who taught him to take risks and not be afraid. He moved his family around quite a bit of times, and that determination is what inspired Walt to challenge the future. And even though it was something uncertain, it was the fearlessness that his father instilled in him that would give him the optimism to guide him to these uncharted and groundbreaking avenues in the entertainment industry.
As a tradition trainer before, we always share that the childhood of Walt influenced him a lot. So I'm curious, what was life for Walt like after he entered the entertainment industry?
Well, Walt was a family man, so he believed that a man should never neglect his family for business. He was very big on that. And even once he was established in the entertainment industry, he knew that, I have to attend these Hollywood parties, but he didn't. He would rather stay home with his family than go to Hollywood parties. He was just an everyday man, and I think that's what I like about him. And even though he was recognized wherever he went, he always tried to keep a low key wherever he was going. During the week, he would take his daughters to school. And imagine that, Walt Disney driving his own daughters to school. But he did that because, like I said, he was a very humble man. And then on the weekends, he would take them to the studio, where they would ride their bikes around the studio while Walt was creating magic in the animation building. But it was the weekends that Walt would take his daughters to Griffith Park, nearby where they lived and near their studio, and they would ride this ornately decorated merry-go-round in the nearby Griffith Park.
Tony and I got a chance to visit there when we went to California last year. And I believe that's where he had the idea to create Disneyland, right?
That's right, and he sat on the bench, watching his daughters ride the merry-go-round over and over again. It ignited a dream in Walt where children could go to a place with their parents and have fun together, instead of just the father and the mother sitting there watching their children have fun. They would both be having fun. And after his daughters had grown up, Walt reminisced that those were probably his favorite days, taking his children to the merry-go-round. And although the studio employees remembered Walt mentioning something called Disneyland in the 1930s, it was that time that he was with his daughters that really made him want to build a Disneyland and a park where families could go together.
Yeah, and I think that was the moment that really inspired the Walt and Mickey Dreammaker statue that we're unveiling today, right? That moment where he was inspired to build Disneyland, right. Where the first park.
That's right.
Walt Disney truly is a legendary man who dared to make the dream come true. Edward 啱啱分享華特係一個以家庭為重嘅人。華特嘅爸爸為咗令屋企人擁有更加好嘅生活，帶住一家大細搬去唔同嘅地方，無懼挑戰，重新開展同埋適應新嘅生活。呢種勇於邁向未知嘅精神同埋保持樂觀嘅態度，深深咁樣影響年幼嘅華特。華特長大成家之後，即使專注事業亦都不忘顧家。佢喺週末嘅時候，成日都會帶住兩個女共度歡樂嘅親子時光。有一次，華特坐喺公園上面嘅長凳，睇住兩個女玩旋轉木馬嘅時候，就萌生建立迪士尼樂園嘅諗法，希望建造一個俾屋企人同埋小朋友一齊共度歡樂時光嘅地方。呢個亦都係華特迪士尼與米奇老鼠銅像創夢家嘅靈感來源。
Walt was a big dreamer, and we all know this because look at where we are now. But he was also an entrepreneur. So I'm constantly inspired by his never give up attitude, because we are where we are because he just kept plowing forward. So maybe let's talk about Walt as an entrepreneur now. How did he manage to find funding for a park?
Well, admittedly, Walt was more of a story man, a creative genius, and not much of a businessman. So he left that to his older brother, Roy. Money was not Walt's thing, so he would always have to go to his brother and ask him for the money. So I don't admire Roy's position of having to constantly fund his brother's dreams. And it was this lack of knowledge of how business was conducted that would lead him to multiple failures in his lifetime. But Walt said himself, I think it's important to have a good heart failure when you're young. I learned a lot from that. So despite the absence of a formal education, Walt had something better. He had the persistence, a deep understanding of what the public wanted, and an inclination as a risk taker.
Yeah, that's right. I think the other thing is it's really hard to believe that he believed in Disneyland so much that he actually put his own house on the line to help pay for it. And that takes a lot of guts. That kind of risk taking takes an immense amount of courage, and he had that. He had the faith and his vision to really make that happen. So he took a lot of risk. He sold it, put his home on the line. He actually cashed in on his life insurance policy to bring Disneyland to life.
That's just mind-blowing to think of, because that project, as big as it was, to set up a project of that scale and then to install it and set it up that fast must have taken a lot of grit. Mm-hmm. So let's imagine Disney comes to life and everyone goes out and has a good time. I'm sure there were some challenges, right?
Absolutely, right?
How did Walt deal with that?
Well, so creating it is just half the equation, really. But once you put it out there, you start to figure out what's going on, and this operation takes a complete life of its own. And so on July 17th, 1955 in Anaheim, Disneyland opens up. And it was a very hot day. But that didn't stop the people from coming. It was very crowded. In fact, there was a 7-mile-long traffic jam leading into the theme park at that time. And so, but it didn't go that well. Certain attractions weren't operational, then others broke down. The crowds were there. There were no drinking fountains in the park on a hot day. The restaurants ran out of food. Everything else was fine though, right? It was so hot, in fact, as the story goes, that women's high heels shoes sank into the asphalt. So it was a bit of a rough start. But one of the other things you learn about Walt is that he was a true problem solver, and he would come up with new and creative ideas and solutions for these fixes. Mm-hmm. And he spent a lot of time in the park talking to guests, talking to the cast members to figure out what would happen. In fact, he actually had an apartment above the firehouse at Disneyland because he'd work late into the night. But a testament to how it all turned out, of course, is that within 7 weeks, Disneyland welcomed its 1 millionth guest, and it's been going pretty smooth ever since.
Wow.
I believe it was a great success at that time. Michael 啱啱講到華特同佢哥哥嘅兄弟情、家庭觀念同埋排除萬難去追夢嘅故事，我相信在座好多香港人都可以身同感受。
So we just mentioned now that Walt would spend time talking to guests and to the cast members as well, and leaders alike. He even, as you said, Michael, had an apartment above the fire department, and that just speaks to how relatable Walt was, because he was very approachable. He was a dynamic leader. He always looked for solutions to the problems around. And so, speaking to that, Michael, as a leader here in Hong Kong Disneyland Resort, you work with a lot of people every day. Yeah. How has that part of Walt inspired the way you lead?
Well, I think Walt's impact can be felt throughout the entire organization, even today. That spirit of innovation and the ability to think outside of the box really does inspire and encourage me, but also, all of our cast members. And I think it's that kind of spirit that's on the leadership, team, today. And so, we find ourselves also coming up with new ways to surprise and delight our guests, and creating even, more memorable moments for all of our guests. Now, Walt would describe himself, I think, as Ed mentioned, as an idea man, and he was certainly, good at that. But he was also very good at building teams, building the skills on the people who were there, but also going out and finding others to join the team. And he often said that the secret to success is teamwork in collaboration. And so building that teams and training people, that was really important. And when you think about running a company as big as the Walt Disney Company, so many different divisions and skills and talents of hundreds and thousands of people to really make the magic happen. And this is these are the magic makers, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can vouch for the importance of teamwork at Imagineering, right? When I joined the company in 1998, the question, what would Walt do, was still the mantra invoked when our ideas stalled. And we still ask this question of ourselves to this day at Imagineering. What would Walt do? It's something that we invoke all the time.
Yeah, and I mean, so many inspirations down to the littlest detail. I'm looking out right now and I see everyone with a bunch of name tags on. Well, that was Walt's idea from the very beginning, and he believed that if we called everyone by their first name, that it would create this, family-friendly atmosphere, and that's a part of our culture today. And so, yeah, you'll see everyone talk, to each other and call each other by their first name. We all have our different ones. I think, Ali, you have the WDI version, and I have the Castle of Magical Dreams. And each park has their own kind of special representation of that around the world. So Walt also believed in recognizing the contributions of the people who helped bring Disneyland to life, and you can see it in our park in a lot of ways. But one of the most famous ways is a window on Main Street, and it really started with his father Elias, where he put has a window and his name on Main Street, USA. And so we've certainly built on this tradition and try to honor and recognize our own teammates and Imagineers and cast members in fun, in unusual ways, really.
Yeah.
And so in the World of Frozen, as an example, that's coming up, launching November 20th. We'll mention that several more times. The World of Frozen, we have a lot of our cast members who are here today who will be a part of it forever. Actually, we signed our names on the back of Elsa's ice magic on her castle, so that will be there. And some of the Imagineers even have their names or pictures in plaques that you'll find throughout the park. I think, Ali, you have your, do you have your name on Main Street?
Not on Main Street, but I do have it in a couple spots. As a member of the project team for World of Frozen, I actually have a portrait of my face in the restaurant, and if anybody can find it, just take a selfie with it and send it to me. Just ask around, they have my phone number, it'll be fine. And I was really lucky to be able to work with the team of brilliant Imagineers that came up with the World of Frozen, some of whom are here today. And both Grizzly Gulch and the World of Frozen are very personal to me. And actually, you can also find my name in Grizzly Gulch, and if you find that, please also take a selfie and send it to me.
Well, it's great to be a part of that, and I bet you when you come back, do you visit?
Every time.
Every time. Well, another quality that Walt has taught me as a leader is to really look forward and to open new doors. I think the standards that we have at the Disney parks really started with Walt's vision for what it needed to be, and it's not just good; it needs to be better than that. And we are constantly thinking about that, and so we're thinking about how we can improve it, how we can make it better. In fact, that's why Walt liked working on Disneyland so much as compared to a film, because you shoot the film and then when you're done, you put it in the can, as they say, and that means you're done working on it. You can't work on it anymore. But he thought Disneyland could be a place that you can continue to grow and improve and get better and better. And so, what Walt really showed me in that is the power of potential, right? That all the possibilities are out there. And our new Dreammakers statue, I think, really embodies this.
That's true. It's the faith and the belief that kept him going. Ed 同 Michael 啱啱都指華特係一個有諗頭同埋創意嘅奇才，但係就欠缺咗營商方面嘅經驗，所以華特就將打理樂園嘅生意全權交俾佢哥哥 Roy 負責，而自己就主力為樂園提供新嘅構思，吸引賓客，又花長時間觀察賓客嘅需要，同樂園嘅演藝人員一齊改善園內嘅設施，最終迪士尼樂園非常之受歡迎，甚至不斷擴張，直到而家我哋度假區嘅每一位演藝人員仍然深受華特創夢家精神嘅影響同埋啟發，不斷致力創新，力求進步，為每一位賓客提供最奇妙嘅體驗。
I believe that's a perfect segue into the next part of our chat. So let's talk now about Walt as an innovator. Walt is known famously for saying, it's kind of fun to do the impossible, right? And guided by this belief, Michael, what's something impossible that you've been able to do in the Disney company?
Well, I don't know if it's something that I've done, but I think you could look at where you are sitting right now as an impossible feat, right? Where you were 25 years ago was in the middle of Penny's Bay. We'd be wet right now 25 years ago. In fact, Hong Kong, as you know, is one of the most densely populated cities in the world, tall buildings, everywhere, and looking for a flat piece of land to build a resort was a pretty tall order, right? And so in the late 90s, as the story goes, there was people from the government and the lands department and Imagineers, and they were flying a helicopter all around Hong Kong trying to find this land, a place that was, no skyscrapers and things like that. And so one of the people in the copter pointed down and said, okay, that's where we need to put it, right? And so they go back to the office and they start talking to their leaders, and they said, we found the perfect place for Hong Kong Disneyland. It's flat, there's no skyscrapers, that's the good part. The bad part, it's all water. And as it turned out, it was a very strategic location right here on Lantau Island next to the airport that was being built. And so, yeah, the impossible was made possible, and we created something out of nothing right here on this reclaimed land in Penny's Bay to make the first Disney theme park on Chinese soil.
Right, well that was when Imagineers stepped in, myself and many other Imagineers stepped in to start imagining what this remarkable opportunity could manifest, right? But of course, I think it's funny that you told the story about when the park originally opened in Anaheim and some of the challenges that they couldn't predict, right? And so for us here, when we opened the park in 2005, we had a similar challenge to Anaheim. Our benches throughout the park sunk into the asphalt because it was so hot, just like it was when Walt opened the park in Anaheim. It was a blistering hot day that day, and I think you said high heels were sinking into the asphalt, right? Well, here it was the benches. But of course, the remarkable team here at the park came in overnight, replaced the benches, fixed the asphalt, everything was good. But 50 years on and halfway around the globe, history repeated itself, and I think that always makes me laugh. But it was an opportunity to really represent what we as team members at the park, what we Imagineering are able to do when we pull together, and we can all look back on it and have a laugh now.
Yeah, we can laugh about it now, and it is good. But since that time, we have really grown and charted really new waters, developing a new and better, one-of-a-kind experience, right here. And today, we are, I told you I'd mention this again, we're gearing up for our largest expansion ever with the World of Frozen. It's the world's first and largest Frozen themed land, which officially opens on November 20th. So I hope to see
That's twice.
Twice.
That's right.
I say it 3 times and everyone will get it, right? Okay. And so I think we're really excited about that. And that is just another example of the impossible. And it's definitely going to be a lot of fun.
What an incredible story! From ocean to a resort, and now we are celebrating the 18th anniversary. I believe to those who witnessed the whole process will feel emotional too. 香港迪士尼樂園嘅誕生就好似完成咗一個不可能嘅任務。我哋而家身處呢個地方喺1/4個世紀之前，仲係一片嘅海洋。當時幻想工程師已經開始着手設計，將一片荒蕪之地變成今日嘅迪士尼樂園。香港迪士尼由2005年營運至今，仍然繼續開闢新嘅領域。嚟緊，我哋更加會為屹立至今最大規模嘅擴張做準備，就係全球首個及最大型嘅魔雪奇緣主題園區——魔雪奇緣世界，將會喺11月20號正式開幕。
Speaking of innovation and creation, Lily and I last year managed to go to the archives, and we saw some incredible innovations that were built over the years. Walt himself was a pioneer of animation industry and cartoon films. He achieved so many firsts as an innovator, and we'll give you some examples now. This is going to shock a few of you. The first synchronized sound cartoon.
The first full-color cartoon.
The first 3D cartoon.
And the first animated feature film.
He also had the first popular nature series.
And selecting the Disney ambassador too. So Ed, how did he do it? How did he manage so many firsts?
That's a great question. To answer that, we only have to go back to Walt's own words, where he said, we keep moving forward, opening up new doors and doing new things because we're curious. And curiosity keeps leading us down new paths. So Walt's curiosity and hard work eventually led him to improve his talents and skills, and to ultimately introduce the first animated feature to the world, actually. But before that could happen, Walt trained his animators by creating the short films, the Donald Duck films, the Mickey Mouse films, the Silly Symphonies, constantly improving their skills. Little did they know, Walt was training them to work on the first animated feature film. So they didn't know this, but once again, Walt, always wanting to move forward, wasn't satisfied with those short cartoons. So he said, we need to do something better. And that's what he did, was train them without them knowing that they were being trained, so they could improve their skills. And, you know, the first feature film, Snow White and Seven Dwarfs in 1937, I mean, it stands the test of time. It shows that Walt knew what he was doing. These animators created this film so long ago that still resonates with the audiences today. You can still watch that film, and you can still feel the warmth of the characters. And you can see the characters walking around the park here today. So it's something great that Walt knew what he was doing.
Yeah. So making Snow White at that time was pretty bold, right?
It was very bold. It had never been done before.
Right.
I didn't think people would sit more than an hour watching a cartoon. They thought people would get bored and just walk out.
It couldn't have been easy, and it's kind of like doing the impossible.
That's right. It's impossible.
I mean, thinking about it, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and I'm sure that was also honored in a very unique way, right?
Right, it was honored in a very special way. So the Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts and Sciences, that gives out the Oscar Academy Awards, decided they were going to thank him in a special way, so they created a special award. And it was one full-size Oscar, and then 7 little Oscars representing every one of the 7 dwarfs. That's never been done before. It's the only time they've ever done a special award like that for anybody. And it was, story is told that it was director Frank Capra's idea to make that award for Walt Disney. And by the Academy doing that, that showed them that they welcomed Walt into their own. He was not only a cartoon maker, he was a filmmaker.
Yeah. I'm surprised by the story of the 7 Dwarfs and the 7 Oscar awards. That's awesome.
Yeah, right.
But for someone looking at it from the outside, that's success. That's what success looks like, and that's the epitome of it, and there's no going down from there. But not for Walt, right?
No, not at all. Like I mentioned, Walt was never keen with just staying still. He always wanted to do something better. It was a challenge to him, and Walt loved challenges. So he made animated features, live action films, television, and finally Disneyland. And with Disneyland, the audience would no longer just be watching a film on the screen or on TV. They were actually participating in the story when they visited Disneyland.
Right, because, and also looking now, translating those stories to what happens in our parks, Walt didn't want to just create a regular theme park where people would just come and experience things. He had a specific idea in mind. He wanted to do something unique. So what was that design concept that Walt had in mind?
Well, that was, once again, it was the impossible. So nobody had ever done anything like that before. So what he did was he assembled his artists, the best of his artists, and they went to different theme parks, well, amusement parks. They weren't theme parks, amusement parks around the world, and they studied their feature films for inspiration for the attractions that we see today in Disneylands around the world, Disney parks around the world. So once again, Walt knew what he was doing. You know, we still have Snow White at Disneyland, Peter Pan. So this is what he did. He used his animators and their skills. They weren't theme park designers, but once again, Walt knew I could bring that out in them. You don't think you can do it, but I know you can do it. I have faith in you, so I'm gonna assign you something you've never done before. And he did do it. And once, you know, Disneyland was designed, since it was designed by his studio artist, it's no surprise that he considered Disneyland is a show.
And so, Ali, looking at the stories that Walt was creating, he obviously had to work with Imagineers to then translate that into what a theme park would be like. How did that inspire the design of theme parks, and how Imagineers eventually saw the approach for HK for Hong Kong Disneyland?
Yeah, well, the show, because the show wasn't just like on a movie screen, right? It was a fully immersive world. It was a real place. I mean, Disneyland, the original Disneyland was kind of a manifestation of Walt's creative genius, right? That was the original. And our approach in designing Hong Kong, since it was the first time we were coming here to this part of the world, to China, we wanted to make it both unique to this location, but also to really honor what Walt had done originally in Anaheim, and to honor that creative genius. And so, you know, we balance both the traditional design principles of how we approach a castle park, how we've approached many of our parks in the world, but balance those also with the design principles of feng shui. And this was the first park we ever attempted anything like that. It was that principle can be seen and felt throughout the park, but it also informed specifically how to locate this park in the beautiful spot that it's in within the mountains, formerly on water, but now on land.
It's so great to see how the Chinese element also incorporate into Disney. 其實喺迪士尼樂園裏面都有好多嘅設施反映咗華特嘅興趣同埋經歷㗎。佢成長嘅懷舊之情，對終身興趣嘅熱愛，對幻想嘅着迷，甚至係對未來嘅憧憬。例如係大家每次入樂園都會經過嘅美國小鎮大街，就係參考自佢童年嘅密蘇里州故鄉嘅回憶。Another very important system Walt had in mind when he conceptualized Disneyland were the four keys, where is the safety, courtesy, show, and efficiency. Am I right, Michael?
That's right, Lily. And as soon as you enter this world, into the theme park, you come to expect a certain quality and integrity that Walt brought to the theme parks. And it really had set the standard for the entire industry. And even something as simple as cleanliness was an important part of the Disney experience. We have very clean parks, and it was, but at the time it was very rare for a theme park to be well maintained or clean. And when you look at Disneyland and the four keys and what that represents, it really is a roadmap of Walt's mind, like you were saying. That was his dream on how cast members should behave towards the public, right? And he had a very keen sense of what the consumer really needed, and it was groundbreaking, really.
And then I think in 2021 we added to that four set of keys with a new one, inclusion.
That's right. But the reality is, inclusion has always been a part of Walt's vision for Disneyland, and I love this this plaque, and we have one here as well. But when they did the dedication for Disneyland in 1955, the plaque that reads, to all who come to this happy place, to all, everyone, right? To all that come to this happy place, Disney, welcome. Disneyland is your land. And I think that really speaks to the spirit of inclusion for us, and it's been there from the very beginning. And together, all of these 5 keys enable all of our cast members as a tool to drive exceptional service and a guest experience that we're known for. And frankly, we pride ourselves on that philosophy as it guides us to provide magic every single day.
Walt, from the stories that we hear, Walt was definitely an innovator through and through. And I mean, looking at the stories and thinking of his ability to imagine and create stories, and then use that to drive everything that comes to life in a theme park, that was incredible. At the heart of everything that he continued to do, his desire was to just bring people together and make them smile.
冇錯啊，華特對於迪士尼嘅樂園營運理念都非常之超前。今日喺我哋營運一直遵守嘅5個品質標準，包括係安全至上、殷勤有禮、完美演出、快捷有效同共融尊重，亦都係嚟自華特。呢啲嘅標準一直引領住我哋點樣提供卓越嘅賓客服務體驗同埋娛樂體驗。
Let's talk about Walt as a storyteller. Ali, as someone who's been involved in the creative development of many different lands, in different international parks, including Grizzly Gulch, and the upcoming World of Frozen, that's the 4th time, and here...
Opening when?
Opening November 20. Here at Hong Kong Disneyland, you can tell that, can you please tell us, I guess, about the importance of storytelling for Walt?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we've talked about this a little bit, right? I mean, I talked about this. Walt was the original storyteller, right? That's what was important to him. With film, Walt transformed the art of storytelling on the big screen. With live action, he also changed the world by engaging with television audiences, The Wonderful World of Disney. I grew up watching that. Like Ed, I didn't know it was reruns when it was playing. I thought it was all live. But Disney parks ultimately became Walt's most unique expression of his storytelling genius and his contribution, the largest contribution to the entertainment world in his lifetime. The stories told in parks are meaningful and emotional and immersive in a way that had never been experienced before. I'll just say this again, when we design our parks, we design for emotional moments. This is how we think about a park when we design it. How are we going to bring emotion? And this continues to be our approach today as we design, just like Walt did many, many years ago. Today, we tell unique stories, like here in Hong Kong. We've got the honor of having some very unique stories, right? Grizzly Gulch, Mystic Point. That's pretty fantastic.
But we've also got unique to us the Iron Man experience, Ant-Man and the Wasp, the Nano Battle. Of course, our beautiful Castle of Magical Dreams and our nighttime show, Momentous.
Right, that's inclusive with our more universally beloved stories. So we've got unique stories, and then we've got familiar stories. Alice in Wonderland, Winnie the Pooh, and then of course Toy Story Land, and now World of Frozen opening November 20th. And it's that is one of the top Disney franchises in Asia. So we're super excited and can't wait for guests to experience it in about a month. Especially what's coming with that land is our newest original family coaster called Wandering Oaken's Sliding Sleighs. It's really great.
Yeah. Well, you guys walked it yesterday.
Yeah, right? We did. You got to see it for the first time yesterday, I think, right, great. Ed? What did you think of it?
I loved it. I think it's so immersive. That whole land is so immersive that, I just feel, once again, that I said Walt wanted you to be in that, an active participant And that's how I felt. I felt like I was there, and I love that. And thank you very much for that.
Do you think Walt would have liked it?
Thank you all.
I think
Walt would have liked it?
I think Walt would have loved it. I think, like I said, it was immersive. I mean, that's what Walt wanted. He was a storyteller, and the story is there. You walk in from the very beginning, you feel like you're a citizen of that area. And that's what Walt wanted to do. Walt didn't want roller coasters at the beginning, but like you said, it's a family coaster.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, Walt knew what the public wanted. And he would have realized by now the public wants a roller coaster, a family-friendly roller coaster. So I think he would have loved it.
Yeah, agree.
I believe everyone here just cannot wait to visit World of Frozen again in about a month on November 20th. Many of the Disney parks share themeland, such as Frontierland, which is called Westernland in Tokyo Disneyland, and Grizzly Gulch here in Hong Kong Disneyland. But each park has its own identity. So Ali, what special local elements have you infused in Hong Kong Disneyland story?
Yeah, when we were first facing the opportunity to do new lands in Hong Kong, and we wanted to bring some of the elements of, like you mentioned, Western Land or Frontierland that we have in other parks, we wanted to bring some of those elements to Hong Kong because that wasn't here yet. But we also wanted to make sure that we were bringing some very specific sort of cultural elements that it was really could speak to where we were. And so if you go through Grizzly, for instance, and this is very different than, very unique to Hong Kong and different from any of our other Western lands, there are hidden nuggets of gold throughout the land. And that's very special. And then of course in the story of Grizzly Gulch, the town, was discovered on August 8th, 1888, the luckiest day of the luckiest month of the luckiest year. And that is also something that I think really speaks to traditions here. The mountain, for instance, also very significant. It's 27 meters tall, it's huge. And building that mountain took many people, and I think that what's special about it is, you know, Hong Kong is such a unique and diverse city, and the artisans that we brought together to build that mountain were from countries all over the world, and we brought this hugely diverse team of artists and carvers together to create that thing. And I think that that really reflects something very unique about the location we're in, right? And I just feel really lucky that I was a part of it and just a small part of the team that brought this to life in Hong Kong.
We love Grizzly Gulch, the unique story that features some Eastern culture elements, particularly with numbers like the luckiest day, luckiest month, luckiest year. 啱啱 Ali 提到華特創作嘅電影、動畫等都完美展示咗佢與生俱來說故事嘅技巧。受華特嘅啟發，迪士尼樂園除咗要向賓客傳遞唔同嘅故事，更加要令賓客沉浸喺園區嘅環境之中，就好似香港迪士尼獨有嘅灰熊山谷同迷你莊園咁樣。我哋希望每一位賓客都可以投入喺每一個故事，創造歡樂難忘嘅回憶。
So Ali just mentioned something about a part of the park that is one of my favorites. So I have to ask how many other people here are on my team. Who loves Big Grizzly Mountain Runaway Minecars? All right, there we go. So we're all meeting there later, right?
I'll see you there. I'm going right after this.
The Dreammaker's statue features a very unique character. Right? And to many of us here in Hong Kong, and I have to ask this question because to many of us here in Hong Kong, we might know Mickey Mouse as a toy, as a cartoon character on TV, or as a friend that we want to take pictures with in the park. My question to you is, as one of Walt's earliest creations, what does Mickey represent?
Mickey represents everything Walt cared about, everything he wanted to portray: happiness, fun, dreams, and bringing families together. Mickey's adorable and endearing, and Walt's wife and his animator said, Mickey is Walt and Walt is Mickey. Walt cited Charlie Chaplin as an original inspiration for Mickey Mouse, and it's interesting that similar to many of the characters that Chaplin portrayed, Mickey was just a little guy trying to do his best, just like Charlie Chaplin. So as Walt said it, he should continue to make people everywhere chuckle.
Well, I think when you look at Mickey, it really turned out to be the catalyst that jump-started the entire Walt Disney Company, right? And it really turned it into the entertainment powerhouse that it is today. Right?
Yeah, I mean, when I think about Mickey personally, I mean, it's such a symbol of our history at Disney, our history at Imagineering, and we all have to remember every day, we should never lose sight of the fact that it all was started by a mouse.
That's right, that's right. And of course, we can't forget that, and we continue to improve on it, and I'll bring it up one more time, that we're improving. I think a great example of that is the world of Frozen, right? And I think it really is going to be special. So it's really taking something that Walt helped develop originally and building on it, and really taking immersive storytelling to a whole new level, right?
So in respect of time, Lily and I have one very important question for you all to wrap up our conversation.
So one final question. What is something that you wish to see at Disney as you enter the next 100 years? Ali, go first.
Well, okay, I hope for the next 100 years the Walt Disney Company continues to take risks. I know we will. We do it all the time. We continue to innovate. If Walt hadn't taken his big risks with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, or ultimately with Disneyland, we wouldn't be where we are today. So with big risks comes big rewards.
So how about Ed?
I hope the company continues to honor Walt's legacy, the founder of our company, that without him, we wouldn't have any of this around us. People ask me what's my favorite character, it's Walt Disney. Because if it wasn't for Walt, we wouldn't have any of this. So I hope they continue to honor his legacy and spread the Disney magic around the world the way Walt would have wanted.
I love that.
Yeah, you mentioned the Walt's legacy and taking risks. That is a big part of it. I think my wish for the next 100 years is that we continue with that, right? The theme parks, the Disney theme parks have the largest global footprint of any theme park company in the world, and 8 of the top 10 most attended theme parks are Disney parks around the world. And I think what we do in the next decade is going to be really important to set the tone for the next 100 years. In fact, Josh D'Amaro, the chairman of Disney Parks, Experiences, and Products, he said that we're going to be doubling our investment in the theme parks division. So I think over the next 10 years, and so doubling the investment, I think that's a pretty good start on the next 100 years.
Sounds good to me.
That's right.
Well, Michael, Ali, Edward, thank you so much for sharing your experiences and your insights with us today. I do hope that everyone here has discovered some uncovered exciting stories from Walt and has learned something new. Not just about Walt and his legacy, but also about Hong Kong Disneyland Resort and the inspiration behind Dreammakers. So thank you also for reminding us of Walt's incredible spirit and vision, and most importantly, that we should never stop dreaming and experimenting and exploring the possibilities out there. With the unveiling of Dreammakers today, Walt and his values will forever be with us here in the park, spreading magic to all who come to this happy place, and I can't wait to see all the selfies. So, to commemorate this special moment, we have a special video to show everyone featuring some of our dear friends that we met last year.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome. Disneyland is your land.
He said, at this point, I want you to consider that this is yours. This is yours.
I'd like to introduce Miss Judy Reams, who has been chosen as Disneyland's official ambassador, and I must say the judges showed good judgment.
You'd see him, and it was always very electric. Both the feeling amongst the employees and amongst the guests, because this was everybody's dream. This was everybody's dad, the dad who sat and read to you. This was family. So I love the Disney image of persona because it cuts across all boundaries. It's a meeting of hearts. The legacy is the ability to carry Walt's dream, to treat everyone as if he rightfully did, and to care, to really care about the being. Every day you come, and if you're a cast member, you can make the world all homes.
Each time we step into Disneyland, we willingly suspend our imagination. What we experience, what we see, and what we hear turn an ordinary day into a spectacular event of laughter, of joy, and of great dreams. When we have these dreams and these memories, we're doing exactly what Walt Disney wanted us to. How do I know? He told me.
It's been said that Disneyland will never be complete. In fact, I said it. That there will always be something new and unusual. That's our hope.
The greatest honor was to get to know the man, Walt Disney.
Lily and I last year had the immense pleasure of meeting Julie Ream, whom you just watched on the video, in person. And her presence exudes this passion for all things Disney. It's so inspiring. She shared stories about walking along Main Street with Walt Disney. It was really, really inspiring. Now, to commemorate today's sharing, we would like to invite Michael to the front to help present Ali and Edward with a special gift.
而家有請 Michael 為我哋頒贈一份特別嘅紀念品俾 Ali 同埋 Edward。
And now I'd like to invite Ali to step forward and Edward as well.
Something for me?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Michael, Ali, Edward, for being dream makers.
And now I'll invite you for a photo. Celebration, and it would not be complete without everyone's favorite friend. So please welcome to the stage the one and only Mickey Mouse. Everyone here in one big group photo. Are you ready for a selfie? All right.
我哋一齊望向台上面，同咁多位觀眾影張大合照。大家準備好
？Stand up. Put on your brightest smiles and let's smile at the camera. Good.
同埋咁多位，我哋好快喺樂園再見。
For joining us today, and thank you for your sharing. You may be seated in the audience. Thank you. Thank you everyone for joining us today for the Dreammakers Fireside Chat. You are all Dreammakers, don't you ever forget that. And now please follow our cast members and head over to the Cinderella Carousel for the unveiling moment. After that, please continue to enjoy the rest of your day here at Hong Kong Disneyland Resort. Have a magical day.
多謝咁多位出席創夢家分享會，希望大家時刻緊記，你哋每一位都係 Dreammakers 創夢家。而家請跟從在場嘅演藝人員指示，到灰姑娘旋轉木馬參與創夢家嘅揭幕儀式。儀式過後，歡迎大家繼續喺香港迪士尼享受奇妙嘅一日。再見。